I don't know about you, but I learned to read really late in life. I learned to read for the first time when I was 8 years old. I was pretty late for some people. I tried my best to learn to read for many years. In fact, when I was 8 years old, I could only read a few words. It wasn't until I was 10 that I learned to read really well. My little sister was turning 4, and I don't know about you, but when you're 1 year old and you turn 1, you're like, gah, 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 gah. But when you're 2, you're like, ah, a box, ooh. And when you're 3, you're like, oh, wrapping paper. But when you're 4, that's the most important birthday you ever have, because as first birthday you go, I want this, and I want that, and I want this, and I want that. Right, exactly, just like you. She was just turning 4. And I wanted her to have the best birthday party ever. So I begged my mother, please, please let me help. And she said, yes, you can help. You can do all sorts of things. And so it was that my sister turned 4 years old. Now, I know that you're thinking that's not a big deal, but I was a big older brother, and I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to make sure my little sister had the best birthday party you could possibly imagine. And so I told my mother, Mom, I want my sister's birthday party to be perfect. And she said, that's okay, we can do all sorts of things, no problem. So she addressed all the invitations, and I mailed them. And then I was so excited for the day to come, for the birthday. I was just so thrilled. My mom said, you know, Eric, if you want, you could bake the cake. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So the day of the party, we got everything ready, we cleaned up the house, and I went down the hall to Aunt Dee's. Now, Aunt Dee was the coolest woman. She was as wide as she was tall, and she was a great cook. But she also had a peculiar characteristic. She could smell so good because she was blind. She couldn't see. Yeah. So she would smell, and she was very nervous about fire. So she smelled smoke, she would call the fire department. And there's a fire, there's a fire. Of course, it was actually a piece of toast 4 stories up in the Lieberman's apartment, but still, the fire department would come. Or if she heard people yelling or screaming, she would call the police department. Get over here, there's a fight going on. Actually, it was the 2 neighbors. They were getting a divorce, yelling at each other. It was just not very good. So Aunt Dee was always calling, and the police department and the fire department, they never found out that Aunt Dee was responsible for 5% of their call volume at any given summer. Across the hallway was Mr. Yan. Mr. Yan was a very generous man. He was from China, he spoke fluent Chinese, and he had a symbol on his door that meant generosity. And he always left his door unlocked, so you could go right in and you could take whatever you wanted. Anything. You wanted money, you wanted the kitchen sink, you wanted a new sofa, you wanted a rug, you wanted a table, you wanted some dining room set, whatever you needed. And so everybody in the building was very careful to keep the front door locked for Mr. Yang, because we didn't want anyone getting in, except for us, of course. Above me was Mr. Lieberman. Now, Mr. Lieberman, he was a very nice man, except that he was a veteran. Not a veteran of the Gulf War. No, 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 no. Not a veteran of the Vietnam War. No, not the Korean War. No, he was a veteran of World War I. And he's lost all of his hair, and he had this face, and he didn't like Germans. Now, my family was from Germany, and so every once in a while, we'd be playing outside, and a car would go by and go boom, and he would stick his head out and say, hey, kids! What? Mr. Lieberman, what? You see any Germans out there? No, Mr. Lieberman, we don't see any Germans. Well, if you see any Germans, I'm gonna get them. We're like, he's got a gun. So we told my dad, and my dad went up there and he checked the gun, and the gun only had blanks. But he also had 5 smoke grenades up there. And so my dad called the police department, and that's when he found out that Mr. Lieberman was a retired New York City police officer. Every weekend, there were great parties up there, and we would call the police to complain, and the police would come over and join the party. And this happened all the time. So it was that I went to Aunt Dee's to bake a cake. So I got to Aunt Dee's, and Aunt Dee said, oh, Eric, I'm so glad you're here. Come on in, come on in. I just got some new containers for all the stuff for the cake. Go pick the flour out for me, okay? I said, okay. So I went over, flour. Flour. Let's see, how do you spell flour? S-U-R. U-G-A-R. Yeah, okay, maybe. Picked it up, carried it over, put it down. I said, how much flour do we put in? 4 cups. Okay, 4 cups. Okay, now go get the sugar. Okay, sugar, go over. Sugar. S. It's got S in it, yeah. A-L-T. Oh, I got it right here, Okay, how much sugar do we put in? Whole cup, okay. Now, we need the baking soda. Baking soda, okay. Baking. F-L-O-U-R. How much baking soda do we put in? 1 tablespoon. Then we went and got the other ingredients. We got all the stuff, and it was just awesome. We mixed up the cake. Oh, it was so good. It smelled sort of funny, but we mixed it up real good, and we put it in the pan, and we stuck it in the oven, and Aunt Dee was like, smells a little off, but it should be good. We took it out. We had a box of store-bought icing. We waited for the cake to cool. She said, don't touch it. Don't taste it. So I put the icing all over. Oh, so good. Then she said, Eric, take this cake. Okay, I got it. Now go down the hall to your sister's birthday party. Your mother called and said the party's starting, but on the way, make sure you stop at Young's because there's some candles there for you. Okay, I got it. So I went in, I went down the hall, put the cake down, opened up Mr. Young's, and there were the candles. They were great. They were this tall. And I knew the word for candles. It said candles on the side. And the fireworks, too. It said right on the box, fireworks. And it had a plus, plus, plus. It was great. And you know what else? They were made in Rome. So I opened up the box. I took out the candles. They were long. I stuck them in the cake. Then I picked up the cake and I went down the hall. It was heavy. I got to the door. I popped the door open. I could hear them singing, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I was so excited. I said, Mom, should I bring the cake in? My mom said, I left a clicker right there. So I put the cake down. I reached over. I got the little clicker and I lit the candles. They were sparkly candles. Oh, they were beautiful. Just fantastic. Sparks coming out of them. I picked them up, carried them into the room, and they were all so impressed with my cake that they stopped singing. I put the cake down right there, and they were just looking at it. They were so amazed by my cake baking skills. And I said, isn't my cake beautiful? And my father said, yes, but what's on it? I said, those are candles. They work. The fire is guaranteed. And you know what else? They're from Rome. My father said, son, those aren't candles. Those are Roman candle fireworks. I said, what? Then the first one went off. Everybody duck! Ah! Out the window, up 13 stories. Boom! Then the second one went off. Out the window, down the street, right underneath a bank truck. Boom! And the third one, boom, boom. Children were running and screaming. Mothers were carrying their children. Mothers were pushing their children out from under the couch and crawling underneath. My father said, don't worry, don't worry. The fourth one, it had smoke. Smoke filled the street. Up in the sky it flew like a dragon. Meanwhile, Aunt Dee was sitting in her apartment. New York City Fire Department, get down here right now. I can smell smoke. I smell, wait, no, get the police down here. I hear screaming. People are being shot. I can hear gunshots. No, get the SWAT team down here right now. The last firework was sitting in the cake. It was burning slow. He did something, my father did something that I would recommend that you never ever do. He reached and grabbed the bottom of the stick. He said, I got it, and it took off. It went straight up into the ceiling. Boom. And then he let go, thank goodness, or I wouldn't have a dad today. Off it flew, out into the street, boom, 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 underneath the car, boom. My father discovered that gravity does apply. He looked down, And his face landed right in the cake. My father sat up. He could hear sirens in the distance. He said, "Is everybody okay?" "Yes, yes, everybody's okay." "Oh, good." I was worried. And then all of a sudden, through the fog, we heard a voice. "This is the New York City Police. We have you surrounded. Come out with your hands up." We're like, "No, no, no, no." My dad went out the window. He said, "No, no, it's okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong. It was an accident with some fireworks." And then we heard a voice above us. "You filthy Germans, you'll never take me alive!" And then he threw the smoke grenades. Smoke filled the street. The police captain was like, "It's Mr. Lieberman, don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot." Well, right with all that pandemonium breaking loose, that's when the fire trucks pulled up. They saw the smoke. They turned their hoses on as quick as they could. My dad said, "No, no, there's no fire." But it was too late. The water filled the apartment. The table with the leftover cake remains on it was lifted up by the water and carried around the room. The children who were able to swim away from the water, they gathered on the life raft. One child was down on his knees. "Please, God, if I drown, don't let my older sister have my Barbie dolls, please, please." I have a photo of that day. I have a picture of the New York Post. I have a picture from the New York Post. I do. And there on the picture, you can see me. And here is my little sister. And she's whispering something in my ear. And above me is my father standing very straight. And on this side of him is the chief of the New York City Police Department, who's looking at him like he should learn to control his children. And on this side of him is the chief of the New York City Fire Department, who's looking at him like he should control his children. And over here is my mother, who has just reached across the face of the New York City Fire Department chief and taken a piece of that cake and put it in her mouth. But down here is me, and my little sister is whispering in my ear, and she's saying, "That was the best birthday party ever!"